sleepy.
Yeah, man, me too.
I'm tired as hell. I'm just out of it. And yeah.
Well, you better get in it.
I know.
Because we're here.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Hoopercast, because I'm going to assume this is not your first time listening, because why would it be?
Right.
You've
Why
been
would
here
you start
before.
here?
Yeah. You've been here before. No one clicks
Right.
on a catch-up episode with no specific topic.
Right. Just because. Yeah, no, they don't.
Yeah, these are the wrong glasses these are the book reading glasses, not my computer screen glasses. I have different glasses.
Ah.
They're the same prescription, but somehow they don't do the exact same thing.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the other pair is good for like looking down at like a phone or a book. And then these are like my stare at the screen, stare at the blue light
Gotcha.
glasses.
Okay.
So
I need to go get my vision tested.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm fine. I just haven't had a test in honestly, I don't even remember the last time I had a test.
Uh-oh.
I have no clue.
My vision's great. My vision's 2015. My vision's great. It's just, I don't know if I ever told you like what exactly is up with my eyes.
No.
It's like a muscular thing. Like I have like a muscle in my right eye on the inner part of it near my nose that's not like strong enough. And so if I look at you this way, no one can see this, but like, how they're misaligned.
Oh, okay.
Like it's not holding. If I look to the extreme left, it doesn't stay straight. And
I've never noticed.
What? That's because I don't look at you. Who does?
And I don't look deeply into your eyes.
Sideways. No,
I avoid eye contact with you.
That's true. Right. So like, I just for years would just like shut my eye if I had to like read up close or something. And then just the more I used of course, I think it came to the forefront when I started working like in news and like had a smartphone. And after a while I was like, what's up with this? And why do I get like double vision? And basically it's a muscular thing. So I was like, hey, how do we fix that? What do we do? And the doctor was like, well, right now, like the best option that we do would be to locate the opposite muscle on your eye and surgically weaken it as well.
Oh,
so that they're just equally weak. I was like, oh, how do we know that's not going to like just make the whole thing worse? Yeah. Like what if I just
now I can't even open it.
Right. And so he was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You just got to decide, I guess. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get glasses.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I've got prism lenses and it helps. And every time I've like tried to explain to people, I'd be like, just put these on. And they look at my eye, they put them on. They're like, whoa, because it's like, it's very disorienting. So
sure. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So it sucks, but my vision's fine. But like, yeah, since most of what I do requires like a lot of reading, then it's like, I need to not have a hard time doing that. So
sure. And
then for years, of course, I was chronically underslept. And so that problem would like be already really hard because my muscles are already tired from working all day. Sure. And like you're trying to read a book, you're sleepy, and then you start going cross-eyed. It's like, for God's sake, like I can't do anything.
Right.
It's frustrating. So
wow.
Yeah. Anyway. Glasses help, everybody. Go get your eyes checked.
Yep.
Most people, I mean, it's weird because you don't think of men in their 30s, well, people and women as well, but like you don't think of people in their 30s as like needing to get their eyes looked at. Like when you're a kid, you always think about that as like when you're a grandparent, like, oh, there goes my vision.
Yeah.
But it's like you turn 30 and it's like, oh, I can't see as far as I thought I could.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it starts.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like my vision hasn't changed, but I just know that like I need to probably go get it checked just because I have like my wife is always telling me how important it is to go regularly and just get a check regardless. And I'm like, yeah, true.
For your eyes or for like anything?
Well, for anything, but but for your eyes. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And so I'm like, well, I'll do it eventually, and then I just never have done it. And it's I do not remember. It had to have been probably like middle school. Like a long time ago. So who knows? Maybe I'm blind and I have no idea.
The craziest thing too is just like in every job I've ever worked, and so I have to assume privately as well, vision insurance is really cheap.
Yeah. Yep.
Like when I was in the news, like, I mean, this is for like a big company, so like the rate's going to be good, but it was like $6 a year or something.
Yeah.
It was insanely affordable.
Yeah.
So when you consider like, yeah, like, you know, whatever, less than $20 a year, and we'll pay for like the first $100 of your glasses every year. Yeah. Just for you to go to the doctor. It's like, well, shit, that's a good deal.
Well,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm
yes,
there.
sir.
Yep.
The only thing that sucks, of course, is I'm sure you've been to an eye exam before, right? You've been to
the
eye
but
doctor.
It's been a long time. Yeah. Yep.
So like, you know, they dilate your pupils. And so like you can't read for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I remember I got done in Savannah one time and it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I still had class. I was such an idiot. I said I'd go to class later, and I was like, don't know what's going on.
Yep.
Don't know what's going on.
This isn't going to be helpful. Yeah. Yep.
This was a mistake.
How did you get there? Did you drive?
I drove.
Dude.
Well,
you're probably still a better driver than 50% of the people on the road down there.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was the main thing, of course, is because your pupils are dilated. So it's bright because your irises can't adjust. So you're just like, So luckily I had sunglasses. I was like, thank God, because I was like, what's going to happen? How long is this going to take? And they're like, it's going to be like hours. I was like, shit, man.
Oh no.
So I am driving, but I did find that like, okay, I know where I'm going and I just can't read anything nearby.
Sure.
But like I can see stop signs and, you know,
and pedestrians. Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I later learned that you shouldn't. Anyway, that was a learning experience.
What was that bump? I don't remember a speed bump.
I don't
there.
know.
Boom, boom.
I can't describe the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Eventually we all wear glasses.
Eventually.
Or contacts. I would never wear contacts. I mean, I don't need them because everything's cool for now. But like if I had, they told me that you have like, you know, very minor like astigmatism or something.
Yeah.
But like, there's nothing wrong with my eyes. But even when we get to that stage, it's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no, my wife wears contacts sometimes, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I have a hard enough time with like eye drops.
Oh like my God. When I had shingles
they kill me, dude.
And I had to take those eye drops, it felt like someone was throwing like a small pellet into my eyes. I
can't do it. Like you could literally like pry my eye open Clockwork Orange style and I'll still find a way to blink.
That's what I had to do. I had to pull it open.
Yeah.
Like John Anderton. It's just like,
yeah.
It was horrible to self-administer those. My God.
Yep.
Terrible. The worst thing too is like you get an eye exam and like, you know, your pupils are dilated. It's like your eyes are like really sensitive. And then they like clamp your head to this thing. Mm-hmm. And then like they pull the thing like really close to your eye. And then they get like this soft thing and they essentially, it moves closer to your eye. So like it's getting softer and softer in focus as it gets larger. Mm-hmm. And then they fucking poke your eye with it. Like they bump it. They're just kind of like to test the pressure or something. And that's always the worst thing in the world, because no matter what logic you understand that it's not harmful, you just see an object coming at your eye and you're like, please stop, please stop, please stop.
Yeah.
But you're like restrained to this thing. You can't do anything about it.
Well, I'm never getting an eye test ever again.
Apologize to your wife for me for
I'm never doing this. The only thing I can think is that is Mission Impossible 2 when that knife goes so close to Tom Cruise's eye.
Yeah. That's what they do. You're on a beach.
Yeah.
Dr. Dougray Scott.
Yes. Do you remember in Superman Returns when that bullet hit Superman's eye and that was in like all the trailers?
Yeah.
And in the movie, it's such an inconsequential thing. It's just a random thug that shoots him.
Yeah. On like a rooftop, right? Aren't they like on a rooftop?
Yeah, I think so. They've got like a big Gatling gun for no apparent reason. and then that doesn't work. So the guy decides, I'll pull out my pistol and shoot him in the eyeball.
And these are petty thieves, right?
Petty thieves. Just like common dudes.
You know, you wouldn't have to rob anybody if you hadn't bought that Gatling gun.
Right.
That cost you $10,000?
How did you get this? And also, if that doesn't work, your handgun ain't going to work, bro.
It's all right.
Like they're shooting this thing at his chest. It's like, pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
And then
let me get my small caliber pistol out.
Yeah, maybe this will hurt if I go right in your eye. Oh, wait, he's not flinching. Probably this won't do anything. Maybe I'll still fire.
Maybe his weakness is weaker bullets from smaller guns.
Yes. But like, dude, if Superman were in front of you and you just shot him with 1,000,000 bullets and none of them worked, and he walks up close to you and you pull your handgun out and put it in his face and he doesn't flinch, don't bother pulling the trigger. Don't waste the ammunition, my friend.
It'd be one thing if he were like, "Oh fuck!" Like,
yeah. If Superman
please
goes,
don't.
"Oh, whoa.
No. All right, guy.
Yeah,
all right, man. I can tell you're
his
serious.
Eye is his weakness. I found it.
The only soft part of Superman is those eyes.
We're gonna go after the eyes, boys. Don't fire till you see the whites in his eyes.
Well, we're just kind of catching up. Obviously, this week we had an open slot in the schedule, and it hadn't been filled. It's kind of the point. So there is a lot going on kind of out there that hasn't really changed. It is August 18th as you're listening to this. So the writer's strike is still going on. The the SAG actors strike is still going on. I think I read that they're back at the table. The WGA is back at the table with AMTP or whatever the acronym is, the studios.
Yeah.
And I think the studios were like giving concessions on, I think they had essentially like reassured them like, okay, AI will not get credit for your drafts. Like, you know, it'll be the writer who gets credited. And then there was it was like, we will have transparency on how many minutes of what show is watched so that, which to me was like, that's cool, but that's also not the same thing as saying, and it will be figured into your pay scale.
Correct.
It's like, we will make a button that does that. Yeah. What do you think, huh?
What do you think?
Making a button? It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. No, not cool at all.
Let's write some scripts, huh? Woo-hoo. Who wants to write some scripts?
Right. Yeah. No, it's such a weird thing because like, yeah, I mean, that's part of the problem. Part of the problem is we don't know what you're saying. But at the same time, it's like, but the main problem is the money. The main problem is that we're not being compensated for all of these hours watched the way that we would have been if the show hits syndication and gets, picked up on a network and airs, on TBS and Comedy Central and everything else after the fact. Like we're seeing dollars on that. We're not seeing anything on Netflix just hosting this show for eternity. And we're certainly seeing a whole lot less if like Disney Plus purges it from the library and it'll never be seen by anyone again in history. When you say giving concessions, you would think that they were at least giving you what you, or some semblance of like, we hear you,
what you asked for, and
here's, what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
But instead it's like, we hear you, but how about French fries? What?
Let's see.
Or what if they were giving concessions, but it was just popcorn and candy?
Yeah, food. Yeah. They were forcing the theaters to provide it for free.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Wait. Where's our money then?
Now we're on strike.
You can't do anything. Yeah, exactly. Forget it. Forget it, Buster.
You're not showing your film in our theater house.
And another thing that's also happened recently is that Disney had like an earnings call or something, and Bob Iger announced that they were going to raise the price of Disney Plus like something like $3 or something, like pretty high, like 27%, I think.
Yeah.
For its main tier, and I think Hulu's going to go up too, and everyone was really surprised. And there's of course there's the normal greed, reprimand on stuff like that. But if anyone recalls back when these, maybe not Hulu, but when Disney Plus was launched, like I remember distinctly reading, like somebody said, I'm pretty sure Disney said, like the goal is to have it profitable in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like if when Disney and HBO Everyone who started a service right before the pandemic essentially understood that service was not going to make money. It couldn't. But it could eventually. But first things first, let's launch the thing. Let's make sure it works. Let's get people signing up. Let's provide them reasons to sign up. And then once people have made this part of their lives for long enough, we'll start raising the price, and then they'll just stay. And so that's happening. And I think Bob Iger even said on that call, like, it's undeniable that this has to be a profitable part of the business, and linear is still delivering on ads, but like we see the future as ads on streaming. And I thought that was interesting. And I also thought it was interesting that in the midst of all of these, I'm not sure if this was recent or not, but I know that Bob Iger has acknowledged that they need to make less Star Wars and Marvel content because there's too much of it, and they're getting mixed results, and they're not necessarily bringing in they're not necessarily bringing in the numbers, and they're expensive to produce. And I don't know. It's just it's a whole thing lately with Disney, especially. Disney's a big like choke point of this strike because Bob Iger's been very vocal about his opinions during it. And it's just at the same time it's happening during like, we're going to raise streaming prices. And, it's people are sort of like freaking out about it, I guess. And it's just sort of like, if you're paying attention though to any of the, you know what, Dustin, I'm going to backsell us. If you were listening to the Hoopercast in the last 5 years, you would have been aware that this is the business model of streaming. You're either a loss leader for a bigger business like Apple or Amazon, or you are soon to be a more expensive standalone business.
Yep.
And Disney, it can't be a loss leader for Disney, even though Disney's a big company that makes other things, because Disney's entertainment arm has always been like step one of its merchandising and its theme park arm. So like, it's not like they can just let Disney Plus lose money indefinitely.
It's such a weird thing. Like, this is what I'm about to say is not a novel concept. It's not unique to me. It's not a hot take. It's just I feel like it's a fact. It's just the way things are going to go. If we look at it from the consumer's perspective, the consumer had one option forever, which was television. And a show comes on, you don't control what comes on when, and there are ads. And that was the only option. And then Netflix comes along and makes this thing where it's like, hey, you can control what you watch, when you watch it, and there are no ads. It was like breaking all the rules of television. And that's why it caught on, because it was, all those things that you are kind of annoyed by, and we have been forever. We just solved them. We solved it all. And then now the consumers are coming, like the streamers coming back to the consumers and saying, hey, all those things that we solved, we're reinstituting those problems.
We have to become them if we are to survive.
Right. It's like, but we'll meet you halfway. You can still pick what you want to watch when, but there are ads. And the thing is, as a consumer, I can only speak for myself. I have developed a distaste more than ever for ads. I don't see the reason for ads other than that it makes them money, which, true enough, like they're providing me a service and it costs them money to provide said service. But I would almost rather them just say, like, if I'm Disney, look, here's the thing. We're providing you with, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of hours of content. There's a price tag associated with that, and it's not cheap. And I would understand that, and then value whether or not like that's worth it to me to pay you what you want to pay, right? Or what you want to charge. But like, I understand the idea of like, but we can offer it to you cheaper if we have ads. Okay, yeah, I get it. You're giving me a product that should be expensive for cheap with the understanding that I'll be watching ads. Well, I'm at this point in my life right now where I feel like all I see are ads constantly. And I'm so sick of being advertised to all the time the part of me that will always look for a good deal is going to prioritize the fact that you're offering me a lot of value for a little cost, even if that cost gets up to $20 a month or whatever it is. It's fine because you're offering me a lot. But at the end of the day, if the options were, and this is just me being honest, this is just me, I can only speak for me. If the options were, we can give you for $20 a month all of this content, or you can keep buying Blu-rays and physical media the way that you always have, I would almost rather do that and give you $20 3 times a year when something that I want to watch comes out, rather than have all of this stuff that I'm not ever going to watch at my beck and call. Like, how many times in my lifetime am I going to queue up an episode of Lizzie McGuire? It's never going to happen. So why do I need that? Why am I paying you for that? I shouldn't have to. And that's what we all said about cable all the time, was like, why am I paying for all these channels I'm never going to watch? All these televangelists channels and the Telemundo and all these things. I can't benefit from using these. Yeah. So why am I paying for them? And we all got angry about that. And now here we are back in the same boat. It's like, maybe instead of charging me less in lieu of or by giving me ads, maybe you just limit my access and say, okay, well then if you're going to pay, if you're only going to be willing to pay $10 a month, then here you go. This is what you can access. Yeah. And I'd probably be okay with that. And like, that's an idea. I don't know. It's weird, but I'm just sick of advertisements. I'm sick of being, forced in a weird way to have these streaming providers in a way that I always felt forced to have cable providers. Yeah. And now that I'm done with cable providers, I have no interest in going back into streaming providers because it's the same thing. It's becoming the same thing.
It's interesting because like we have this show where we talk about movies and TV, but I ironically, like I feel less of a need as time goes on, even with this show, to have seen something that people are talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a liberating feeling because I feel detached from want.
Right. Right.
It's very Buddhist, but like, I do feel that like, oh good. Like it's okay that I haven't seen the thing because like, I don't really care. And it's not a bad thing to not know what other people might know. Severance came out like a year and a half ago, and I really want to see it, but I'm not like, I haven't felt like an incomplete person in the interim.
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I haven't had Max in months and, Peacock or Paramount. And I just sort of have told myself like, the stuff that they're pulling off of those other services, like I have no control over that. And me rushing out to try to watch them right now is not going to change what's going to happen to those shows. Like that's just, that's just the company's going to decide to do with those what they will. My whole thing lately, and it could just be a confluence of what's happening with streaming and our age and our acceptance and seeking out of things that we're more sure of. Where I just go, I'm just going to find a movie that came out 20 years ago and figure out where it is and rewatch it. And that's how I'm going to spend my time.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm only watching like one show at a time right now. And I'm just, I don't know. I'm finding it, the landscape of streaming getting more complicated and more of a hassle to keep up with. Yep. For me, couldn't have come at a better time because I have all this other shit that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to write. I'm trying to read all these books. I'm trying to do other things. So it's fine for me because I'm like, oh, cool. Like that's one more reason not to like have to pay for something. I'll just read this depressing book about the end of the world. That's fine.
Right. Yep.
I have at it, because I'm all for paying for the thing. Like, I was explaining it to somebody, maybe it was my daughter. But I said it, I just spoke it real plainly. I think it was my mom. And let me see, hold on a second. I have this text because my mom had sent me the article from CNN. The era of cheap streaming is officially over. And so, I read it and it was just someone basically saying what we were saying. And I said, this is what homeostasis looks like in the new industry.
Yeah.
The services all acknowledge they'd be operating at a loss for the first 5 years. And from then until now, those prices were hilariously good considering the value you're getting. Because no matter, how you slice it, like streaming's really cool.
It's really valuable.
It's so cool that like they can just do that.
Yeah.
And you can watch The Sopranos without having to buy The Sopranos. And that's all great. It's a really cool thing, but in the long run, you have to go like the only way to get my dollar amount out of this is to make this like a regular part of my leisure.
Right.
And I don't know that streaming in that way has done humanity any favors because it has made people feel like they have to be watching TV for longer than they maybe otherwise would have.
Yes.
And watching TV that may be super mediocre versus like, I really want to watch The Sopranos. So I'm just going to fucking buy the box set or borrow it from my friend and watch it.
Yep.
And
there are a lot of TV shows or a lot of streaming shows now to pick from, right? Like tons. And things are being made that probably shouldn't be made. And there's an expectation culturally to watch it. And what was originally a really good thing, which was like dropping the entire season all at once or whatever the case may be, that's always what Netflix's model was. Although I think that's starting to change. It became a cultural like water cooler, not just to talk about the latest episode, but to talk about the entire season all at once.
Yeah.
And like you have people who would stay up all weekend or whatever and like watch the entire thing and then come to work Monday morning ready to talk about it. And it's like, man, if you weren't also all caught up on it, then you would fall behind in that conversation or risk being spoiled. And it was like one of those things where streaming was kept alive by the fact that there was just like a cultural pressure to keep up with everything. And now there's just so much that you can't possibly keep up with everything and you have to pick and choose. And we're at this weird point where it's almost like there's so much quote unquote prestige TV that there's no prestige TV. And the expectation to watch everything has gone by the wayside to where like, you just kind of have your show and like, that's all you have. And there's a reluctance to try all of the new things that are coming out. Partially because we've all been burned and watched shows that we didn't care for, but also because there's just so many that none of them are making the cultural impact that say like Stranger Things made when it first came out. Yeah. And like, if you release Stranger Things season 1 now, it wouldn't do anything. Because there's so much out there. But when that came out in 2016, it was like, man, you got to watch this show. There's nothing else like it. You can watch the whole thing right now. And it was like, oh, cool. Like it's an event. And now it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. I think the other day I saw this thing from Millie Bobby Brown where she was basically like, I'm ready to be done with Stranger Things. Like,
yeah.
And that's more like as an actor.
Sure.
More than anything else. Like I want to do other stuff and I want to be known for other things, but like even for her, it's like, all right.
Yeah. Right.
Okie doke.
Yep.
Yeah. I just see streaming's role in, making something feel important that otherwise might not feel important.
Sure.
And, it definitely, has forced me to sort of really do the work internally and be like, all right, do I really care about this? Do I really need to jump on this? Or is this just like marketing working its magic on me?
Yeah.
I struggle with that because it's hard. It can be difficult to something I've said before. I've said this for 12 years on this show. I think marketing people are geniuses because they can make everything look like it's going to be the best thing ever.
Must watch.
Yeah. It's going to be, don't miss it. It's like, those people are worth I hope they're paid well because they're worth every penny.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And that's the crazy thing is like, so something like Mandalorian season 3, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't even watch it. I liked the first 2 seasons well enough, but I didn't even start it. And it's the same with like Book of Boba Fett and like all these shows where I was just like, I mean, theoretically, I should want to watch all this and or but I just don't. And it's the same with Marvel. Yeah. Like theoretically, I should want to watch Moon Knight and Miss Marvel and She-Hulk, but I just don't care. I don't care enough to actually sit down and do it. And so you and I have this personality, I think, where to some degree we both want to be a part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. And so we want to watch things that maybe we don't actually want to watch just so we can talk about it. Yeah. But also, like for me, I'm a completionist. So for me, it's like, oh, well, if this is part of the overarching story, then of course I need to see it, right? Like I need to see Mandalorian season 3, but I'm like, but not really, because my life has gone on and I've never stopped to think like, oh, I'm missing out on Mandalorian, partially because I hear third season was not good, but partially because I just don't care enough. Yeah. So why put myself through that pressure?
It's hard because like, I've got, by the way, as a sidebar, I've got opinions on Mandalorian season 3, but I was going to wait because I'm reading this book about the history of Star Wars. And then there's also Ahsoka's coming up that I might watch. And I started to watch Andor. Anyway, I might end up like having a whole recent Star Wars
binge
for us and some historical context to help me make sense of it. But like, for me, like the problem with Marvel currently, we'll talk about this with the episode about Secret Invasion in the future. But the problem generally with Marvel right now and Star Wars right now and other stuff that I can't think of off the top of my head that's like tied to an existing franchise somehow right now is that it doesn't feel, there's nothing wrong with completionism and there's nothing wrong with like expanding the world or whatever. The problem is when it doesn't feel like a singular vision. It's just like, oh, hey, it's your turn to like make a story and that's related to this thing. Yes. And it's like, but it doesn't feel like this is it doesn't feel like it matches. It doesn't feel, it feels like if TV shows were blood types, it's like, no, incompatible. You can't put that blood in this person. Yep. You can't put Secret Invasion where She-Hulk goes. It's not the same. Yep. And it should feel the same because it's all supposed to be the same and it's not. Yeah. And Star Wars is the same way. It's like, okay, that's interesting, I suppose, but it just doesn't, you can't watch like this and then watch The Empire Strikes Back and make me feel like this was remotely the same thing because they clearly didn't creatively inform the creation of each other at the time. So it just doesn't, and that could just be us being uppity artists where we're like, it has to feel seamless, right? But it does though, or it's not going to feel right.
It's even more important for Star Wars because Star Wars is like a singular thing, right? Try as they might, Star Wars is just Star Wars. Mm-hmm. It's not, there's no, everyone talks about it's a big expansive world. No, it's not. It's desert planets. That's all Star Wars is. But like with Marvel and, you know, similarly with DC, I mean, these comics franchises have lasted for so long that there's like, you could touch on the mystical elements and then you could touch on the cosmic elements. You can touch on the real world elements and like all these things have to go together. But like with Marvel, with DC, there's like an element of, okay, maybe we can stretch it a little bit here and there tonally. Yeah. But with Star Wars, that has to be airtight. Like it has to be airtight because Star Wars is Star Wars and you can't veer too far without it just not feeling like Star Wars anymore.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like the option, the only good option at a certain point for any of these things is just stop. That's it.
Stop. You're done.
Stop it. You can't accomplish your goal. You can't make a thing without making it diminish somehow. And this was our thing about the John Wick episode last week where we were talking about, you know, if you're Lionsgate, you're either going to force them to make more John Wicks or you're going to make more John Wicks without them. Yep. So at what point does John Wick just become super generic or disappointing? Yep. But that's what's happening with everything. And
either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Right. Become rotten on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yep. That's right.
But it's true. Like a corporation will run these things into the ground, period. The question is at what point does low enthusiasm send out a strong enough message to Hollywood, I suppose we'll call it, that like, hey, no one wants to watch this. And it's going to be after like repeated losses of invested money before a studio goes, all right, we have no reason to make this anymore. But the problem is the loss of quality will always far predate the loss of money.
Correct.
And that sucks because we have to watch that and be disappointed and sad that it came to this, you know?
Yep, totally. It's the same thing like if you have a restaurant and it's a really popular restaurant and every time you go there, it's really good. And then suddenly like it starts to slip a little bit, but like it's still your favorite restaurant because you've had a lot of good experiences there. So you're going to keep going, even though sooner or later, like you start having a bad meal and then you start having consistently bad meals.
Yeah.
But you still are kind of loyal to it because, man, like you just have had so many good memories there and you've had so many good burgers there or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like suddenly you just like wake up one day and realize like I'm paying money to eat bad burgers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This
and
sucks.
then you just you have to have that hard talk with yourself of like, this isn't worth my time and money anymore. There are other restaurants and that's where I'd rather eat.
Feel like a chump.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you're skimping on the ingredients, so you're forcing my hand. This isn't the same as it was.
Yeah.
And that's
you spend years gaslighting yourself, like, but I like being here. And then one day you're like, no, I don't have to take this anymore.
Yeah, I don't actually like this.
I hate this.
Right. I just like the idea of it, or I like what it once was.
Yes.
And that's what you do like as a human is like you will overlook bad things because you remember the good things.
Yeah.
When it comes to like, you know, novel or entertainment experiences. And you know, it's just the nature of it.
It's like you were saying with Lizzie McGuire. Like, when am I ever going to like sit down and watch like Lizzie McGuire? And it's like, you won't. And if you were inclined to, it's because you remember what it was like to initially watch the show.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You know, like I remember when I was a kid.
It's nostalgic, but it's like, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
It'll never be like it was.
No, even for me to sink just a singular 22 minutes into it.
and as you've said before, like our culture is experiencing right now, like this inability to let go of things.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem in many ways, but with entertainment, all it does is drive repeated cycles of remakes and reboots and, you know, nostalgia based marketing schemes.
It's true. And we see it over and over and over again. And, you know, how many times can this one character come out of retirement? How many times can we, you know, say, I'm getting too old for this in a movie? And it's like, evidently a billion times.
Yeah.
You know, that's all the last two Indiana Jones movies seem to be, is like how old he was.
Yeah.
And it's like, so then just don't make the movie.
Right.
You know, like that's the easy example. I don't know.
Speaking of movies, we'll round out this episode. I just wanted to look at the box office real quick, the worldwide, like the year, like the total box office so far of August of this year. And not really with any point in mind. The Super Mario Brothers movie is still in the lead as we record this by about $150 million. But Barbie's coming up. Those two are the only two movies that have made over $1 billion worldwide. I think Barbie recently made history by doing that. You know, first time of a film directed by a woman has made over $1 billion. It's huge. And then Warner Brothers and Mattel, of course, learned the wrong lesson. They're like, we're going to make a Barbie universe of all the Mattel products. And of course it's like, it's not the point. Please don't, please don't. It's not going to work. But whatever, because whatever happens to those, at least this movie will still exist already. But I'm looking at the box office and it's just like, you know, it's impressive. I'm happy for it. And I don't know what to make of some of this, you know, at the same time, it's all the same things it always is on this chart. It's the franchises, it's the brands, it's, you know, but it's kind of cool to see like Oppenheimer and Barbie at number 6 and number 2 on this list. I mean, because everything else on here is like, you know, a franchise. I mean, I don't even know. I'm looking down, like, I guess I guess the most impressive thing on here might be like The Sound of Freedom, but that's 19th.
Yeah.
So is it? I mean, but that's more money than Scream 6. So
right.
Maybe it is impressive. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know. Again, I'm not sure what I hope to glean from that. It's interesting. It's really interesting. But again, it goes to our argument of letting go of things in nostalgia-based marketing. I mean, like Guardians of the Galaxy is number 3 right now, and that's a good movie, but it still is like emblematic of the machine it represents more than it is almost of its own merits as a movie.
Yeah.
Ant-Man's number 9. It's the same argument. So I don't know. It's hard to, it sucks because like you're the only person I can like talk to about this, because like normal other people in my life like do not care about any of this stuff.
Sure.
And like, but to me, it's like it's a big thing that's like emblematic of like a society wide problem of like we just got to move on, and we have to say, hey, like it's fine if we don't have all the streaming services, and it's cool if we don't go watch all the things all the time, because it's not a big deal. And I feel like a lot of society actually gets that and doesn't feel like the pull to see anything. The last time I saw a big push to go to the movies was Barbie. And it's like, thank God that happened to be a great movie. But had it been a super generic or even worse, a bad movie, I'd be sitting here complaining like about, I can't believe another terrible movie made lots of money. You know, it's so, I don't know. It's one thing or the other, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway. All right. Well, that was us catching up. So I feel caught up now.
Okay, great.
All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week or in a few days. Something. Bye.
Eventually. Bye.